Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya studios. These are our top stories.
China, first row. China.
Trump's 50% tariffs on India take effect as Modi promises tax cuts and urges support for Make in India. Meanwhile, Trump is holding a White House meeting on Gaza as new details emerge about a deadly hospital strike. And a shooting at a U.S. school leaves 2 dead and dozens injured. Now, Donald Trump's 50% tariffs on India have officially taken effect, hitting one of Washington's strongest Indo-Pacific partners and threatening millions of jobs in export-driven sectors. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is responding with promises of tax cuts and urging citizens to support Make in India as the country navigates the economic blow. Experts say reforms like goods and service tax simplification could help cushion the impact on households and also small businesses. For more on this, I'm joined from London by economist Laurie Laird. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Leigh-Ann.
Hiya, good evening. Wow, okay, so let's get into this. The US has slapped these punitive tariffs on India over its purchases of discounted Russian oil. But how damaging is this for the world's fastest growing large economy?
In short, I don't think this is a dramatic piece of news. And it struck me when you were doing your introductory comments. You mentioned what a strong relationship Donald Trump and Narendra Modi had not that long ago, right? I mean, when Modi last went to the U.S., or at least in the first term, the guys were playing stadiums across the U.S., with thousands of people coming to see this double act. So what has gone wrong between these two leaders is incredibly confusing, because we did think there was a strong partnership there. Now, Trump did warn that these 50% tariffs were on the cards. Still felt a little surprising when they came into effect a couple of hours ago. But I don't think that they will, as dramatic as it sounds, I don't think this will be incredibly damaging to India. India is a fairly closed economy. It does not send that much to the U.S. And that's, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What it does send to the U.S., pharmaceuticals, that and jewelry, that is being cut out. That's being carved out because the pharmaceutical situation in the U.S. is so very expensive. So about 45% of Indian exports will not be tariffed. Only about 2% of India's exports go to the U.S. So there will be some areas of the economy, apparel, footwear, that will hurt. But in terms of top line growth, the economists seem to think that there'll be less than a 1% hit in GDP growth, which is growing at about 7% a year. So it will be painful in pockets, but not over the top line.
And despite the US slapping on these higher tariffs, like we were just talking about, and the fact that the US and India have always been close allies, India just continued to buy Russian crude. Why has New Delhi taken this almost strong stance on not listening to the US?
This is what I can't get my head around. I haven't found an economist who can get their head around this, because India isn't the only economy buying discounted Russian oil. Now, India is profiting to a certain extent. It's buying this cut price crude oil, putting it through its many refineries on Indian soil, and then distributing that domestically and selling it abroad. But India isn't, China is taking a lot of discounted Russian oil. A couple of years ago, the G7, and with America's consent, said Russia can sell as much oil as it wants at a price of $60 a barrel or lower. So everybody was in on this. And the reason for this was to avoid removing a whole lot of oil from the global markets, thereby pushing up the price of energy. Now, this is what really confuses me. India is buying about 1.5 to 2 million barrels a day. If India goes and seeks that oil elsewhere, and Russian oil at this point is not discounted by all that much, given the market price of crude, because crude prices have come down so much. But were that Indian demand to go somewhere else, we're going to see oil prices skyrocket, which is exactly what Donald Trump said he does not want. So the logic behind this move, particularly when other jurisdictions are buying this Russian oil, makes absolutely no sense to me.
And also, let's just put it into context. The US is India's biggest trading partner, and a New Delhi-based think tank has predicted thousands of jobs are at risk as India's exports to the US are set to decline. So do you think closer ties with China and other BRICS countries like Russia will really help India and soften the blow to its economy?
I think absolutely. As I mentioned, there will be pockets of the economy that will struggle. But what this is doing is accelerating a realignment of trade. Now, we see India, we see Modi is going to China for the first time since 2018, right? It's only been a couple of years ago that Indian soldiers and Chinese soldiers were fighting with clubs along a contested line of control. Now Modi is on his way to China over the weekend. Modi also has fairly strong relationships with Russia. It depends on Russia for 60% of its defense imports. So this is hastening, I think, a realignment of Asian trade that was going to come anyway. But losing Modi as an ally may turn out to be quite a mistake for the U.S. And the administration seems to be compounding it by developing quite close relationship with Pakistan, which is another rival of India's. The head of Pakistan's army has been in the U.S. twice over the past year and has had lunch with Donald Trump. So the geopolitical strategy here is baffling.
Yeah, absolutely. And US trade negotiators actually called off a planned trip to New Delhi this week. You just mentioned Modi will be going to China. But my big question here is, what does this mean for America's access to the Asian markets? Because really, India was always key to that for the US.
And America wanted India not just as a market with a lot of people, the world's most populous country. It also really wanted to culture India as a buffer to a very ambitious China. I think that strategy will be wiped out a little bit. One thing that is interesting is we're not seeing from Modi what we've seen from, say, the EU, from a couple of other countries, which is, okay, don't tariff us, and we will promise to buy more U.S. liquefied natural gas. We'll throw in some defense spending there. Modi is not playing that game at all. Now, it's a weird game when countries do this. The EU has promised to buy a whole bunch of LNG. What is overlooked that the EU is a multinational organization where shareholding companies, have their residences or their incorporation. The EU cannot tell companies to just buy more gas from the US. India has a little more latitude, but we're not even seeing that kind of talk. Sure, yeah, we'll buy something. Just exempt us. Modi seems perfectly comfortable in saying, okay, we're going to develop our Indian manufacturing industry more. We're going to really enhance these links with other Asian countries.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And thank you so much for your insights. As always, Laurie Laird, it's always great to have you on the show. Now, 2 children have been killed and 17 people injured, 14 of them being children in a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. Officials say the gunman who fired a rifle through the church windows towards the children took his own life. President Donald Trump has been briefed with the FBI, and Homeland Security is on the scene. For more on this, I'm joined from Washington by our correspondent, Nick Harper. Nick, so according to reports, 2 people have been killed and 20 injured in a school shooting, as I just said, in Minneapolis. What more do we know on the situation?
Yeah, Leigh-Ann, all of this unfolding over the last couple of hours. We've heard from authorities in the last 30 minutes who've been holding a press conference to give a few more details. We know that the ages of the two children who were killed were 8 and 10 years old. And of the 14 or so children who are injured, we're told about 7 are in a critical condition. There are another 3 adults who were also injured in this shooting. And we heard from officials that all of this unfolded at about 8:30 local time in the city of Minneapolis, inside a church. The gunman firing from outside into the church, and inside a mass was taking place at the time. Worshippers and the young children were involved in that church service, police saying that the 2 children who died were in the pews of the church at the time when they were struck and died at the scene. In terms of the gunman, we're told that he had 3 weapons on him: a rifle, a shotgun and a pistol. It's unclear at this time his identity, but police say that he took his own life at the scene at the end of the shooting. And the officials who spoke were clearly very emotional. The mayor, Jacob Frey, said that there were no words to capture the horror of this unspeakable act. The police chief, Brian O'Hara, called it an unthinkable tragedy. He spoke about the gunman's actions as sheer cruelty and cowardice, saying that all in all, it was incomprehensible.
Nick, thank you so much for bringing us an update on that moving story. But we're going to go to another story now coming out of the US today. And President Trump will hold a large meeting on Gaza at the White House today. What can we expect to come out of that meeting, Nick?
Yeah, we're still waiting for more details as to exactly how all of this will take place, who will be involved, the actual timing of the meeting. It wasn't on the president's official schedule for the day that the White House released late on Tuesday evening. The details we have so far coming from the Middle East Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, saying in an interview with Fox News that this would be a large meeting and they would be discussing a very comprehensive plan that the US has put together focused on the day after. So what happens to Gaza after the military offensive ends? We're told that Donald Trump will be chairing this meeting and that so far the details of this plan, Steve Witkoff says, are robust and well-meaning. And the details reflect, he says, Donald Trump's humanitarian motives. But let's not forget, back in February, when Donald Trump last publicly spoke about his plans for the enclave, he said that the US would take control of the Gaza Strip, that the Palestinians who were there would be forcibly removed. So we'll have to wait to find out exactly what he wants to do next. But Steve Witkoff also saying that in terms of the military offensive carried out by Israel, the US's thinking is that it will be wrapped up by the end of this year, so just a few months away. Steve Witkoff saying that it could be a case that it's settled one way or another before the year is out. So more details likely to emerge later in the day from the White House, but so far, in theory, this could be a very consequential meeting in terms of the US strategy of what happens next to the enclave.
Nick Harper, as always, thank you for joining us. Let's continue this conversation now with Dr. Ahmad Al-Farah, head of pediatrics at Nasser Hospital in Gaza. Doctor, it's great to have you back on the show again. And I do apologise about the circumstances, but what was the scene like inside Al-Nasser Hospital immediately after the strike? And how did it affect patients and staff like yourself?
Please, the voice is not, could you loud the voice more?
Yes, of course. Can you hear me now? Have you managed to...
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. OK, I will go through that question again. I was just asking you, what was the scene like inside Al-Nasser Hospital immediately after the strike, and how did it impact patients and staff like yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me, my colleague. Actually, 2 days ago, at nearly 10:20, I was in my office. I was examining a patient who my colleague consulted me about him. While I was putting the stethoscope in my ears, suddenly we heard a loud voice, which is very loud, extremely loud voice. Suddenly, the mother who were caring about her child has fainting attack. She has syncopal attack. We were conflict. We were in a very confused to treat the mother or to continue examining the patient or to go outside to see what is happening outside. What we know later on that there is outstairs of Al Yassin building. Al Yassin building is the main building of Nasser Medical Complex that contain the ICUs and the operation theater and the lab and a lot of section. There is outstairs, which is emergency stairs. The top of that stairs there is area which is good covered by eSIM cards for internet. Always the journalists are using that area to collect their material and to send it for the agency that they belongs to them. Even I am a doctor. I am sometimes when the internet is not available in the hospital, I go upstairs to make internet connection as it is in high altitude and it has the most powerful internet connection. So there were a double attack. This is the first one is for the external stairs and another attack at the same time for the balcony in the other side of that building. That balcony belongs to medical doctors. They are sitting inside it and try to discussing about the cases of intensive care unit. He's a Dr. Muhammad in the Al Habibi in the 6th year of Faculty of Medicine in Al-Azhar University. Unfortunately, the two were died, as mentioned by the video that you are showing now. Muhammad al-Habibi was killed, and Hussam al-Masri, who's a journalist, was killed, and even his photographer or assistant was severely injured. All the hospital, when they heard the bomb or the attack, all of them, they were going there, try to help, try to evacuate, try to resuscitate what's happening there. So civilian defense was upstairs. A journalist who are a friend and colleagues for the journalists go upstairs, and also some guys of the office team of the hospital and security guys of the hospital go upstairs. And this is where the massacre happened, the second attack. Unfortunately, the second attack was completely targeted against civilian who are trying to do some resuscitation or some help for some attack people. Example, like someone who's in the street, he has a cardiac attack, and there is some people are gathering and try to do advanced life support for him and resuscitation him, and suddenly a bomb of a tank is falling or targeted them. This was a greatly massacred. Nearly 18 persons were killed, and this deliberate compound attack constitutes a calculated trap aimed at targeting rescue team at that time. And it was on air, it was on live, it was, the Israeli occupation forces know everyone who were upstairs. So it was really something shockable for us. We were completely shocked about the number of the cases who were killed.
Doctor, so Doctor, Israel and the IDF have done an initial investigation into this, what they have called a mishap, a strike on Al-Nasser hospital, and they said that they saw Hamas setting up cameras which was taking footage of IDF soldiers. Does Hamas stay inside of Al-Nasser hospital? Is that where they find safety?
It is a good question, my colleague. I will suppose that is a camera there. There is a lot of method to deal with that camera. First, you can ask by phone call to the administration of Nasser complex, please remove that camera. This is, for example. Second thing, if I want to target this camera, I will suppose that this camera belongs to something illegal. Okay, I can target the camera alone. Why I target the camera and I target the man who hold the camera and the man who is near the camera and the man who come to make resuscitation and rescue and evacuate the patient? This is a propaganda. It is something obvious. Even they have a different story. Someone there is misleading, and we are sorry about that. And the soldiers in the tanks, they told that we have commands and orders from our commands to deal with that. This is a full crime, and it is on life again. And they know that everyone was upstairs are innocent people. They are journalists, they are doctors, they are security guys, they are some men who want to help. There are civilian defense. All of them were trying to help, and they were completely targeted and executed in real massacre and full crime organized against these innocent people.
Dr. Ahmad, just before I let you go, we're slightly running out of time, but how are you feeling? Are you safe inside the hospital and in Gaza right now? Is it your plan to leave?
No, my friend, we are unsafe since the beginning of this war, and we are every morning we pray to God to protect us and to protect our family. No one in Gaza is safe. Even the fetus, even the baby in the womb or in his uterus, his mother uterus is unsafe. We have a lot of examples that a fetus in his mother uterus was executed and killed inside. No one is safe in Gaza. No doctor is safe. No nurse is safe. You know, one of the victims of that in the second targeting is a journalist. His name is Muad Abu Taha. He's a friend for me. He's recorded all the cases of severe acute malnutrition with me. He was helping me in a lot of things. The day before, he asked me, Dr. Ahmed, we want to help the children in the hospital by offering for them some biscuits to deviate or to alleviate or to decrease the starvation and severe acute malnutrition. I told him, go ahead, Muaz. The next day, he went and he bought the biscuits and put it in the tent. We have an appointment on 11 o'clock in the morning to distribute the biscuits among the patient. But unfortunately, 10:20, he was killed and executed. Muaz is one of the most kind, gentle, and white heart I have ever seen. He's cooperative, and he doesn't deserve that end to be for him. But I think he's with a company with his God.
Dr. Ahmed Al-Farah, I wish you a lot of safety, and I always appreciate you talking to us. Please do keep yourself well and safe. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at some of the other stories making the headlines today. At least 30 people have been killed after a landslide struck India's Jammu region, where relentless heavy rain and flooding continue to batter the Himalayan area. The victims were on a pilgrimage route near Vishu Devi Shrine when disaster struck. A Wisconsin man is heading to jail after faking his own death to meet a woman in the country of Georgia. The man, who was married and has 3 children, has been convicted of obstructing an officer and sentenced to 89 days behind bars. Before disappearing, he took out life insurance policy, applied for a replacement passport, and also reversed his vasectomy. His wife has since filed for divorce. In Thailand, a 65-year-old Buddhist monk is under arrest, accused of embezzling donations meant for a care home. Investigators say he took money from a hospice he set up for people living with HIV and AIDS. He was taken into custody at the temple where he serves as an abbot. Now, the Kremlin has once again ruled out accepting NATO troops in Ukraine to end the war. On the front line, Ukraine has admitted Russia has entered a key region in the east of the country, but denies that its forces have been taken to villages. Elsewhere, President Donald Trump is warning of an economic war if Vladimir Putin doesn't pursue peace. Take a listen.
It will not be a world war, but it will be an economic war. And an economic war is going to be bad. And it's going to be bad for Russia, and I don't want that. Now, I have to also see, because not everybody, Zelensky is not exactly innocent either.
For more on this, I'm joined from Doha by Dr. Omar Ashur, military expert on Crimea and Ukraine. Dr. Omar, thank you for joining us. So, the Kremlin has once again ruled out accepting NATO troops in Ukraine to end the war. Are President Trump's efforts to stop the killing diminishing?
In a way, they are, but they really was not advancing at any time. As we know, President Trump promised to stop the war in 24 hours multiple times, but that has not happened, not in weeks and not in months. That on one end. On the other end, it seems to be there is not enough leverage, neither security and defense-wise nor economic-wise. Hence, we see, but actually, Russia or the advancement of the attacks on Kiev, on civilian targets in many places in Ukraine, do not get punished. And we saw what happened in Alaska. The red carpet was rolled for President Putin, despite the continuation of the war. So the messaging here is not very clear. It's the messaging is conflicting at best, and therefore it's not a very effective strategy so far.
And what's really interesting, Omar, is you do say that the messaging is conflicting when it comes to Donald Trump and Putin's relationship. But we're hearing from Donald Trump again, and he's raising the possibility of an economic war on Russia. He came out and said this yesterday. He's threatened Moscow with sanctions before, but there was no action. Are these just empty threats, or do we actually think that Donald Trump is getting increasingly frustrated with Russia?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Clearly, it's signal more than strike. So you're signaling that you're going to escalate without actually following up, even when Russia escalates. So in diplomacy, this is messaging, and the messaging is understood that I'm not really serious. While at the same time the war continues, Ukraine cities gets attacked on daily basis. There is a lot of movement on the front line. Despite a lot of not necessarily major movements, but minor movements, a lot of attrition going on. And the actual economic war that he's talking about now, just he has 25% on India because of importing from Russia, while Russia doesn't get the 25%. It has less in that sense, depending on the commodities. So yes, it's more largely rhetorical so far, and more signaling than anything else. And not very effective, to be very fair.
And I think that is a really fair assessment. But Ukraine admits Russia has entered a key region as the war rages on the ground, because we're getting all this signaling, like you have said, Omar, but the situation on the front line hasn't changed. People are still dying. So what do we know what's happening on the front line, and who has the upper hand? Is it Russia right now?
So it's very complex on the front line. So Russia has officially annexed 5 oblasts from Ukraine. Well, Crimea is a republic, so they took the entire Crimea as of 2014, and then they annexed the entire oblast provinces of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. They don't control any of them, including Luhansk. So the entire oblast, they don't control it. So now the news is that they entered Dnipropetrovsk, which is an oblast neighboring to the west of Donetsk. But they did so because it's easier to enter this oblast because of the geography, straight farmlands where there's nothing really there, no defensive structures, no big cities, no urban settlements. So it's easy to enter it with a small unit, a platoon, at maximum a company, and then declare that we have it. So I'm not sure how long will they hold territory there. That's one. And two, they couldn't take the very important cities of Kramatorsk and Slovyansk in Donetsk and other cities, other important cities in the other allegedly annexed oblasts. So they're going for the easy target, and I'm not sure how long will they hold, because once they enter with small units. It's not like a major brigade or multi-domain brigade-sized attack with armored vehicles, and then they control actually the territories. It's not like that. It's usually small units that are light infantry, sometimes motorized infantry. They hold a village or so, and then the Ukrainians start shelling and start attacking, and then they move out. But the damage is the propaganda, is right. We entered the new oblast now. It's like an advancement. So this of course caused damage for the morale and caused a lot of disturbances. And then the Ukrainians have to scramble some forces and go after them in these new territories.
Dr. Omar Ashour, thank you so much for your insight and analysis. Great to have you on the show. Now moving on to other news, Taylor Swift is officially off the market. The pop star announced her engagement to NFL star Travis Kelce, sharing a heartfelt post that has already racked up over 18 million likes. Social media erupted with fans cheering and getting emotional over the couple's news. Even President Donald Trump sent her some congratulations, calling them both terrific people. And, you know, I'm now joined in the studio by Zainab Amir, manager of @SwiftNYC. Zainab, it's so great to have you with me in the studio. Thank you so much for joining me. So first of all, everyone just sort of went crazy last night, didn't they? When the news flashed up that the couple are announced, they've engaged, and we've got all the news coming out. But why did it have such an enormous reaction? Why are Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift just this amazing machine?
Yeah, no, definitely. I thank you so much, Leigh-Ann, for having me. I think to answer that question in particular, you see Taylor Swift. She is the height of the music industry within just the world. And then you have Travis Kelce as well, who is at the height of his career, his American football career. So, and he's the best tight end that we have in American history. So if you combine the two, it's almost like American royalty. So it's definitely an engagement that everybody is talking about and everybody is excited about.
Yeah, I was so excited about it because I love Taylor Swift and I've loved her for very many years. But also, a lot of the reason I love her music is because she talks about her love life so much, doesn't she? Yes. She talks about the makeups and the breakups, and that's why we buy the albums. And, you know, her love life has also been scrutinised, hasn't it, for the men she's dated. It's been all over the press. But why do you think that Travis Kelce has been the relationship that has worked for her? Why do you think Travis Kelce chose her? Why did she choose him?
I think you finally have somebody who is nonchalant about Taylor Swift, but also, like you said, engulfed in the curiosity of who she is. So you have somebody like Taylor Swift, who is at the height of her career for the last 2 decades, singing about her love life, opening to her fans the diary of her entire life through her songs. And you finally have somebody celebrating that and celebrating her wins, celebrating her successes, and understanding who Taylor Swift is at the same time. So I feel like if you look at those past relationships, that celebration, that, you know, being private but not secret was not, that aspect, that element wasn't there. It was always almost like a secret. It was almost like, let's hide, let's dull down who you are as a, you know, big musician in this industry. So I feel like it's somebody finally celebrating her success, which is honestly, it's just beautiful to see
Yeah, and I love
Yeah.
seeing them because they do a podcast together. There's
Yeah.
quite a lot of PDA going on when they do go out, isn't there?
Yes.
When she watches, they both
Completely.
support each other, which I find so lovely. He goes
Yeah.
to an Eras tour, she watches his matches, and it seems to be, like you said, it's
Yes.
private, but it's also not secret in many
Correct.
ways. But the one thing I've been looking at on social media today,
Yes.
as always, is speculation on when the wedding could be. Have you got any idea of a date? Are there clues in any of the pictures? Because people are always looking for clues. But another thing, for me, Taylor Swift and her fan base has really made her the superstar she is. So
Yes.
should her loyal fans be invited to the wedding day?
Yeah, so that's a two-part question. So I feel like fans and myself have been like investigating or looking for clues as to like when did he propose, how did he propose. So like when it comes to the date, I feel like Taylor's been shocking us. Like I never imagined her going on a podcast with her boyfriend or being so public about even the engagement post being put on Instagram just like that out of nowhere. So I feel like fans are speculating it might be just a normal cycle. It might, because the way that she announced it was almost like a normal person, like your close personal friend just announcing it on Instagram. So who knows? It might be, normal rhythm. They've been together for 2 years. They're engaged now. It might be a year, 2 years, who knows? But they have so much going on in their career. And then when it comes to Taylor sharing her life with her fans, I feel like the way that she has done it, again, like I did say, private but not secret. So I feel like it's going to be some element of that. Like as much as I, as a fan, would love to have like be a fly on the wall during that wedding, I feel like it's going to be private between family and friends, close ones. They're cut from the same cloth, so very grounded people, which again goes back to the American royalty aspect, where when the time is ready, they'll share photos and videos of the special day.
And actually, I really loved the caption to the post. Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting
Yes.
married. I thought that was really great. But it's got a bit of a mixed reception, Zainab. Why is that?
I think it's because people expected when they see a big celebrity or two big celebrities, right? You have Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. They expect something creative or more creative. But honestly, I think the way that Taylor did it, right? And it's so Taylor Swift, is knowing or understanding who she is as a person. It's just, people will call it cheesy, but I think it's just like genuinely who she is as a person. It's just, again, like your close personal friend announcing the engagement. It's almost like plain and simple. And she said it in her lyrics. Like she has a song called So High School, which she plays on the engagement post. And it's, you know how to ball, I know Aristotle. So it's almost like kind of catering to that as well. So it's her spin on words, but it's always, her fans understand that this is always who she's been as a person, is candid and celebrating who she is and being passionate about that and owning that.
And one thing, I loved the ring. I just
Yeah.
want to know your thoughts on that. And also, I mean, she's going to have a watertight prenup. Let's get into the realistics of here.
Yeah.
Because I would say she'd be worth quite a fair bit more money than Travis Kelce.
100%. I do agree.
What wise words would you have to say to Taylor Swift on the prenup?
I would say make sure that prenup is definitely like tightly locked, because she just became a billionaire. Like the Eras Tour has not only given her husband as well as her masters back, but she is also now a billionaire from her music itself. So I do feel like if I have any wise words to say, is just make sure you have a good lawyer, which I'm sure, given her industry expertise, she is very well aware of. Yeah.
And you know what? I find it quite interesting because you said that she got back the masters of her music. She redid those songs, and we saw that was something she was really passionate about. Why does Taylor Swift resonate so much with so many people around the world in so many age categories? Because I'm a massive fan of hers.
Yeah.
I know, like, my much younger girls I know are a massive fan. She just sort of spans everything. Is it because she's got such a lovely voice, or is it because she's such a good businesswoman? She's got great work ethic. What is it about her?
I think it's a pretty much a combination of everything. Because if you look back at the last 2 decades, right, as somebody who has been a fan for 17 years and grown up almost with her, I see her as, and I think fans too, like if you think about, not to be like parasocial, but like it's almost like she's the older sister that you never had or like you wish you had, because throughout her life, right, we've talked about how she's opened up her life. She's always spoken about her life specifically through songwriting. So I think when you resonate to those lyrics, even if you're not exactly going through that specific experience that she has, it's the way that she finds that poetic depth in her song lyrics that people can finally, like, they can kind of resonate to, they can hold on to. And then if you think about it, throughout those 2 decades, she's always been reinventing herself. You sometimes see artists releasing the same album again and again, and it's not any different. So when you think about the businesswoman that she is, she does really push herself, and I think that also, when you think about life, right? You never want to be, we think of our lives in chapters, in seasons. So I think that's what she tries to capture when it comes to her songwriting and her work and trying to reinvent herself, which I think everybody can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. Favorite Taylor Swift song?
Probably Maroon.
Oh, I love that
Yes.
song. That's such a great song. Mine is actually Red. And I
Oh,
feel like
nice.
that's a really old song, but I absolutely love it. I
Yeah.
also love the Tortured Poets Department. I
Yes.
thought that was a brilliant album.
It's absolutely
so great.
So
and then we've got
poetic.
the Showgirl one coming up, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Oh my God,
12th
so
album.
much to celebrate.
So
Thank
much.
you so much. I love Taylor Swift. That was a great conversation.
Yes,
Thank
no,
you so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Zainab, Amir, thank you so much. A reminder of our top stories. Trump's 50% tariffs on India take effect as Modi promises tax cuts and urges support for Make in India. Meanwhile, Trump is holding a White House meeting on Gaza as new details emerge about a deadly hospital strike. And a shooting at a US school leaves 2 children dead and 17 others injured. And that's all from us on W News. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and, of course, follow us on X. The Riz Khan Show will be coming up next. Plus, of course, we'll be back in a couple of hours' time with W News Extra. Goodbye and thank you for joining us.